One is their unit of measure, but it's not. All social systems we put into place are a mere sketch.
It's a universal truth that every film has a conclusion. However, there are instances when that conclusion is far from the expected clarity and definitiveness. Film narratives don't always neatly tie up with a bow, and some movies deliberately opt for open-ended conclusions.
My mom still cries over the lost baby pictures.
Well, it's a shame
that can leave the audience in a state of bewilderment, leaving them to ponder what just happened. This compilation explores the top 10 ambiguous movie endings that intentionally refuse to offer clear resolutions. These inconclusive finales are designed to provoke discussion and encourage viewers to formulate their own interpretations of the story.
Dominic! I brought you back to where we first met!
Opinions on these elusive conclusions vary, with some fans relishing the debates they spark, while others find them frustrating, as if they were deprived of a proper denouement. Love them or hate them, these 10 films have left audiences perplexed and continue to be the subject of discussion. Number 10. Taxi Driver, 1976. The year 2010 brought us 2 films featuring Leonardo DiCaprio, both of which concluded with enigmatic endings. In the case of Teddy Daniels, it's a safe bet to assume that he made the conscious decision.
There ain't nothing there.
Yeah, but you can't live like this. It's a hell. A girl should live at home.
To die as a good man. However, when it comes to Travis Bickle in Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver,
Faster than you.
his fate remains shrouded in uncertainty. This is especially intriguing, considering Travis is a profoundly complex character, and his ending is surprisingly optimistic. He successfully eliminates the antagonists.
Get the fuck out of here, man. Get out of here.
Rescues Iris, reconciles with Betsy, and is hailed as a hero, but it all appears almost too perfect to be real. Given Travis's fragile mental state and the precarious nature of the final shootout,
Dear Mr. Bickle, I can't say how happy Mrs. Steensma and I were to...
one must contemplate whether this happy ending is a product of his imagination. The potential answer may be found in the ambiguity of what Travis sees in his rearview mirror, a detail left deliberately unclear by the filmmaker. Number 9. No Country for Old Men, 2007. Just to clarify, we are not discussing the very final scene in which Sheriff Bell shares his dreams with his wife, even though this moment is subject to interpretation.
What's the problem there, neighbor? Yep, that'll suck some power.
Instead, we are focusing on the concluding scene involving Anton Chigurh and Carla Jean Moss. Similar to his earlier encounter with the gas station owner, Chigurh is prepared to determine Carla Jean's fate through a coin toss. However, Llewellyn's widow refuses to comply with his demand. She insists that Chigurh make a choice, preventing him from attributing an unnecessary act of violence to chance. Although the actual outcome is left unseen, as Chigurh leaves the house, he appears to glance at his boots, potentially checking for blood. While the situation remains open to interpretation,
What weight would that be? I seen you was from Dallas.
it is unlikely that Chigurh suddenly became merciful. Number 8. Donnie Darko, 2001. We could devote an entire video to dissecting the conclusion of Donnie Darko. To simplify matters, let's concentrate on the ending's enigmatic quality. Donnie,
Ling Ling finds a wallet on the ground filled with money. She takes the wallet to the address on the driver's license but keeps the money inside the wallet.
in order to reset the past 28 days and prevent the world's demise, makes the ultimate sacrifice. This action erases his meeting with Gretchen in this particular reality, but her life is still influenced by him.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How much are they paying you to be here?
As she cycles past his house, after the jet engine incident, she exchanges waves with Donnie's mother, who waves back, and a neighbor boy also joins in on the gesture. Gretchen and Rose appear to experience déjà vu, leaving us pondering whether either will ever recollect each other in the events from the alternate universe. Perhaps the sequel, S. Darko, will offer additional clarity. And again, upon second thought, let's not count on it. Number 7. The Wrestler, 2008. Darren Aronofsky has always had a penchant for leaving his audience with open-ended interpretations. Even in a film like The Wrestler, which lacks the surreal elements often associated with Aronofsky's work, he crafts a conclusion
You have a beer with me? One beer.
that stimulates contemplation. Despite his doctor's caution against returning to the ring, Randy the Ram Robinson chooses to pursue his passion, even if it means risking his life, rather than existing in a world where he feels out of place, despite Cassidy's fervent pleas for him to abstain from the fight.
Very grateful to be here. A lot of people told me that
Randy prioritizes his devoted fans. Climbing to the top rope, Randy takes what could be his final plunge. Perhaps he goes out in a blaze of glory. It's conceivable that Randy's doctor's prediction was incorrect, and he survives the match. Cassidy opts not to wait to find out.
you're my family. I love all of you. Thank you so much.
And we too are left in uncertainty. Number 6.
I believe in taking care of myself, in a balanced diet and a rigorous exercise.
American Psycho 2000. Patrick Bateman, a wealthy and seemingly charming individual, conceals a dark and violent persona beneath the surface. At least, that's the impression we're given. The conclusion of the story hints that Bateman's horrific deeds might be mere products of his imagination. This raises the possibility
Yes, Patrick?
Would you like to accompany me to dinner? That is,
that Bateman is an unreliable narrator, or it could be his lawyer, Harold Carnes, who is unreliable. Carnes claims to have recently had dinner with one of Bateman's supposed victims, Paul Allen, but his struggles with remembering names cast doubt on his testimony. However, even if Bateman didn't murder Allen, he might still be guilty of the other heinous acts depicted in the story. Director Mary Herron personally leans towards the belief that it all did happen in Bateman's reality. Regardless, it's clear that Bateman is not in a sound state of mind. And as for any answers, don't expect them from the direct-to-video sequel, American Psycho 2. Number 5.
You said you were drawing a map. Looks like a fucking puzzle. You tell me what you're drawing.
Prisoners 2013. In his quest to locate his abducted daughter, portrayed by Hugh Jackman as Keller Dover, he finds himself metaphorically ensnared by his own paranoia in this Denis Villeneuve-directed thriller. Subsequently, he becomes physically imprisoned when the kidnapper traps him in a hidden pit. Dover's sole ray of hope lies in a whistle.
Hey, give me a flashlight.
Which manages to catch the attention of Jake Gyllenhaal's Detective Loki just as the credits roll. We can only assume that Loki discovers the pit and rescues Dover. However, even in that scenario, Dover is likely to face a challenging legal ordeal, or his role in imprisoning.
When forensics is finished with the guy's place, we're gonna deploy the cadaver dogs.
In mistreating a mentally challenged man who was initially suspected to be the kidnapper. Number 4.
Been to the top of the tower?
Yeah, it's rubbish.
In Bruges 2008. Ray, played by Colin Farrell, arguably has committed unforgivable acts. He has murdered a priest, accidentally taken the life of a young boy, and generally displayed rude behavior. However, despite his transgressions,
wow, I'm having a really nice time. I'm not sure if it's really his cup of tea.
There's a reluctance to see him meet his demise. Even Ray, who has contemplated taking his own life, reaches a point in this dark comedy where he no longer desires death, if only to seek redemption.
And he repeats, yes, I am talking to you.
While he is gravely wounded, Ray makes a vow to confess his sins to the parents of the deceased boy and face the consequences of his actions. Whether or not Ray survives to redeem himself remains uncertain. Nevertheless, wherever his journey takes him, it is likely to be a more preferable destination than Bruges. Number 3.
Blue Book Non-Disclosure Agreement.
Ex Machina 2014. Ava stands out as one of the most enigmatic characters in the realm of science fiction. Throughout Ex Machina, Caleb grapples with the question of whether he can place trust in this alluring AI.
Holding for memories, shifting for thoughts.
This is your hardware?
Regrettably, Caleb's ill-advised choices lead to Nathan's demise, Kyoka's destruction, and Ava's escape. Meanwhile,
it was a success. Ava demonstrated true AI, and you were fundamental to that.
the robotic Ava gains her freedom, while Caleb is left imprisoned and crying out from behind a closed door. Although it's evident that he was merely a pawn in Ava's elaborate scheme, This conclusion leaves numerous unanswered questions. Will Caleb manage to escape? What lies ahead for Ava? Will she attempt to live a conventional human life? Or does she harbor more sinister intentions? Did she ever genuinely care for Caleb, or experience any remorse for abandoning him? Furthermore, it remains unclear whether Ava becomes more human or machine by the story's end. Number 2.
Are you real?
No.
Shutter Island 2010 is a psychological thriller by Martin Scorsese. Boasts one of the most contentious conclusions in cinematic history. The story revolves around Teddy Daniels, portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio.
She was so sweet, but you could see it in her eyes. She liked to be naked.
Who believes he is a U.S. Marshal investigating a patient's disappearance at a mental asylum for the criminally insane. However, the film's twist unveils that Teddy, whose real name is Andrew, is in fact a patient himself, one of the institution's most violent and deranged inmates. The entire investigation serves as a facade.
Gotta get off this rock, Chuck. Get back to the mainland.
An unconventional therapeutic method aimed at helping him recollect his dark and repressed past. Andrew's doctors caution him that a relapse into forgetfulness would necessitate a lobotomy. Regrettably, Andrew appears to regress, reverting to his Teddy persona. The guards then escort him for the lobotomy procedure, but not before Andrew utters the enigmatic line, "This place makes me wonder, which would be worse, to live as a monster or to die as a good man?" This phrase leaves the question open. Does Andrew genuinely remember and choose to undergo the lobotomy? The answer remains a subject of debate. Number 1.
That alone is worth the fight.
The Grey 2011. Let's prepare the scene, or the conclusion of the survival film, directed by Joe Carnahan.
You phony. Prick. Fraudulent.
On one side, we have the Alpha Wolf, equipped with a menacing set of teeth. On the other side, we have Liam Neeson, armed with a knife and a handful of glass. The tension builds as the two adversaries charge at each other for an intense showdown. And then, the screen fades to black. If that weren't ambiguous enough, a brief post-credits scene offers a glimpse of the wolf struggling to breathe as Neeson places his head on it. Did Neeson survive the encounter? Even if the wolf emerged victorious, will it survive its injuries? The answers to these questions will forever remain shrouded in uncertainty.